And good afternoon, grade 9. Good afternoon, MD. We are now in the middle of your introduction, middle of the introduction activity or introductory activity. Okay, let's take a look at the previous activity that we actually make. Activity number 1, which is climate change. Okay, talking about climate change, what do you think are the factors affecting climate change? MD, what do you think are the factors affecting climate change?
The greenhouse gases, sir,
Yes, greenhouse gases. What else? Aside from emissions,
and like abusing or trapping heat from the sun.
okay. How about the root cause of climate change? What do you think? The root cause of climate change? Like, for example, um, there are two main categories or factors affecting climate change, right? You have natural and what? Man-made, okay? What do you
Yes,
think
sir.
this factor plays a big impact in climate change?
Can you repeat that again, sir? You were one cutting off.
Okay. There are two major classification of factors affecting climate change. We have natural
And man-made.
and man-made. Okay, what do you think amongst the two has a bigger impact in talking about climate change?
Man-made.
Why?
Because humans are evolving and there are more technologies that needs the natural resources of Earth.
Correct. You have a point. Now, can you give me now the domino effect? There is a domino effect happening when you're talking about climate change, starting from man-made. Okay, so let's start. Okay, man-made. Man uses CFC or chlorofluorocarbons by their sprays and aerosols, and it will create what? Or man performs kaingin system that burns now a lot of trees um, in the forests, and
Deforestation.
yeah, deforestation. And what will happen next? And there are some burning of trees, burning of large areas in the forests, and there are some people using aerosols, what will be the next? Using chlorofluorocarbons.
We would lack resources like water, especially food, because
Okay,
the
yeah.
animals will die because they don't have any shelter anymore.
Yes, that's it. Okay, what else? How can that one affect us? Because this is a domino effect.
So due to lack of food and lack of water, we would slowly be extinct.
Correct. Okay, extinction among animals. What else? Okay, so this will be happening. Possible events that will happen. There are some man-made, abuses like the uses of chlorofluorocarbons and deforestations. that's the burning of garbages, it will actually create a, a greenhouse gases called carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. Okay, and the CFC also plays a vital role because chlorofluorocarbon is an artificial gas that will actually create or have an effect in greenhouse effect. Okay, it plays a vital role also in creating a greenhouse mesh. And when you say greenhouse mesh, it will actually cover the area. What will happen next? Well, definitely, we're talking about the heat from the sun usually reflect back some of the heat simply because it is not needed. Okay, although sun is considered as one of the major sources of energy, major sources because it is not a primary source. See, primary, ultimate source. No, it's not an ultimate source. Scientists found out that below the sea level or below the sea ground, you can actually observe some sea mounts there. Under the sea mounts or in the sea mounts, you can actually see some
Good
bacteria
afternoon, sir.
at the margin. You can see some bacteria involved and they can create their own food using the process called chemosynthesis. Okay, let's go back to the idea. Talking about um, talking about the man-made, Margie, we're talking about now the factors affecting climate change. We are now in the man-made first because this is the major. Okay, again, uh, man uses chlorofluorocarbons and the emissions, car emissions. What else? Burning of garbages, burning of trees from the forest. It can create a greenhouse mesh, okay, greenhouse gases. This greenhouse mesh, greenhouse gases, can actually create now a global warming or greenhouse effect. What happened during the time? Okay, supposed to be we are actually reflecting back the light from the sun. Okay, from the sun will actually push some photons in Earth and reflect back some of those um, radiation simply because it is not needed. But since then, because of these greenhouse gases, it actually traps heat. Okay, it actually traps heat. Once heat is trapped in Earth, it can now create what?
Global warming.
Global warming, correct? Okay. Greenhouse effect. Have you seen a greenhouse? Are you familiar with the greenhouse? Greenhouse.
Little, sir.
Huh?
It's concern the carbon and there are two other one.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the greenhouse? The one that is used by plants. Okay. Um, farmers and some of the nurseries. I'm not talking about nurseries for kids. This is nurseries for plants. They use greenhouse. Okay. We have it here in Mandawi that they uses greenhouse. So what is the function of a greenhouse? Okay. They put the plant there and uh, it actually traps heat for the plant's purpose. That's a greenhouse. Okay. It is called the greenhouse effect. Okay. Greenhouse effect can now cause global warming. When we have global warming, what will happen next? Margie.
Heat, heat, sir.
Okay. Go on. What else? If there are some global warming, now we are now in the global warming, then cases are it is now happening. What do you think would happen next if there are some global warming? What could be the domino effect?
the earth will be very hot.
Okay, so this could happen. Number one, it will create heat. Heat now will melt the ice from polar regions. Have you seen the um, the documentary video that I let you actually see, MD and Margie? Oh, by the way, Margie, are you answering only in modules?
Yes, sir.
So, MD, have you seen the documentary video that I let you?
The climate about the climate change, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the video, you can observe that there's some global warming happening there because the ice from the polar region melts. So the glaciers actually melt. So what happened next? There's some rising of the sea level. Okay. So that is a body of water, and all the body of waters here are connected. Once there is some rising of water, tendency is what? Some of the species of plants and some of the species of animals living in a marine life will actually die. Okay. What else? If these species of animals and plants die, we are affected because that is our source of food. Aside from that, if there are some global warming happening, tendency is there are a lot of evaporation happening in the ocean and some of the waters. So if there are a lot of water, if there are a lot of evaporation happening, rapid evaporation, there are some also rapid what condensation and eventually precipitation. So that is the water cycle. So if the water cycle moves faster, what do you think will be the result? By the way, this is just an explanation about your activity, huh? About the video. Okay, so let me explain. If um if water cycle moves faster, so the faster evaporation, more water in the clouds, more water vapor in the clouds, in the atmosphere, then it says it will become humid and more condensation happening. Here comes a low pressure in case because there are some movements of hot air and cold air. Remember the condensation. So if there are some movements of cold and hot air, it will create what? Strong typhoons. So your lessons are actually connected to one another if you're going to look at it. That's the connection. And it's a domino effect. And it is really happening. This is the reason why if you're going to observe the climate before, talking about Philippines, we are living in the equatorial line, above the equatorial line, and it is a tropical country. This is a tropical country. Question: is the climate before the same as today? Climatic conditions?
No,
No, correct. Why? What do you think are the reasons why?
because there are less buildings. There are less more construction.
Correct.
There are less construction going on.
Yes, correct. So because of those factories, because of those infrastructures, and because of those man-made disasters that we actually do, tendency is the nature now what gives a revenge. This is now the revenge of nature. This is actually not the product of nature. This is actually a product of the people, of the abuses of people. No? The forest before becomes now subdivisions. The rivers before and um, the oceans before, the seas before becomes now um, malls. Have you observed that one? Have you observed that one? Seaside, for example. Seaside is actually reclaimed area. I say reclaimed. Um, it is not actually solid. It is reclaimed. They put some soil there in order to be used. SMCT Cebu, same, the same. So these are just examples of the man-made disasters that they actually create to destroy nature. Okay, we cannot blame that one. Okay, anyway, going back to the topic. So there is it. Because of this rapid evaporation, because of this rapid condensation, and because of this rapid precipitation, they created typhoon. Okay, this typhoon now has an effect to us because it is a boomerang effect. Whatever you do to nature, it will always go back to you. Okay, after which there is flash floods. Okay, what else? There is landslides and all of those. Okay, those are the effects of the man-made factors, the man-made disasters that they do. Okay, how about the natural? Diba we have two factors, major factors, the natural and the man-made. How about the natural factor? Let's have Margie.
Sir,
How about the natural factor? You have two factors, man, in climate change, the natural and the man-made.
the effect, sir, or the cause?
Factors of climate change.
The polar caps will be melted, and water cycle will constantly happen. And some one areas uh, in the land will be dried.
Okay, correct. Okay, the La Nina and El Nino will happen. Well, if you're going to look at natural calamities, there is earthquake, movements of plates. What else? Volcanic eruption. So those can actually change
Tsunamis.
climate, right? But these are natural. We need to say this is actually the way nature moves. Okay. Remember that we are supposed to be in Pangaea. Are you familiar with Pangaea?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Supposed to be we are Pangaea or one landmass. One landmass. Because of these plates, the movements of plates or plate tectonic theory, tendency is we are actually separated like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay? The separation of land masses creates now an impact to what? To climate. Okay? It changes now climatic condition. Remember that the earth is tilted. That's why the form of earth is not circular. It's oblate spheroid. That's the correct term, oblate spheroid, because we are tilted. We are not actually in straight direction, and we have revolutions and rotations. So because of this, there are some changes of climatic conditions, and these conditions enable the organisms also to evolve. Okay, we have evolutions. We evolve because we need to adapt some certain changes. That's how nature works. Okay? Let's continue by next meeting. That is actually one of the introduction. And hopefully, we can do a lot of activities by next meeting. And do you have any questions so far? Those are just introduction. Okay? The lesson proper will be happening by next meeting.
Not really, sir. Not, I don't have any question. We don't have any questions.
How about you, Margie?
No, sir.
Okay. By the way, MD and Margie, the module is already ready in your LMS. You can always download the module for advanced study. And in order for you also to interact, that you can interact to my class by next meeting. Okay? Please download the module in your LMS. It's already there. Right? Please tell also your classmate to download the module for their guide. Right?
Okay, sir.
I think that will be all for today, class. Hopefully, you learned something out of our simple discussion as an introduction to our topic. Thank you, Margie and MD, for participating in the class. Have a nice day, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.